Patrick and Michael were the best of friends. One day, they decided to go bicycling, but when they got to the rental shop, all that was left was a tandem. They decided to take it anyway, and Patrick got on in front. They rode for a while down the scenic country roads until they came to a steep hill. They stopped and looked up. "Begorra, that's the tallest hill in all Ireland," exclaimed Patrick. "It is, so it is," replied Michael. "We'll have our work cut out for us, sure." And so they started up the hill, each pedaling as hard as he could. Soon the sweat was pouring off and they were gasping for breath. "Faith, this is a steep hill," gasped Patrick. "It is, so it is," exclaimed Michael, and they pedaled even harder. At last they reached the top and stopped to catch their breath. "Saints preserve us, that was the steepest, tallest, and hardest hill in all Ireland," said Patrick. "It was, so it was," said Michael. "And if I hadn't kept the brakes on, we'd have rolled right back down."
Two friends who haven't seen each other in a while have just finished up a round of golf. They're undressing in the locker room, and one of the guys takes off his shirt and pants, and he's wearing a bright pink sports bra and matching thong underwear. His buddy looks at him suspiciously and asks, "How long you been wearing that stuff?" He replies, "Ever since my wife found them in my back seat."
Four friends reunite 30 years after school. One friend goes to the restroom while the other three start discussing the success of their sons. Friend 1 says his son studied economics, became a banker, and is so wealthy he gave his best friend a Ferrari. Friend 2 says his son became a pilot, started his own airline, and is so wealthy he gave his best friend a jet. Friend 3 says his son became an engineer, founded his own development company, and is so wealthy he built his best friend a castle. Friend 4 returns from the restroom and asks what they're talking about. They tell him they are discussing the success of their sons and ask about his son. He says his son is gay and works as a stripper at a gay bar. The other three express their disappointment, assuming he must be unhappy with his son's lack of success. "Oh no," the father replies. "He's doing quite well. Last week for his birthday he received a Ferrari, a jet, and a castle from 3 of his boyfriends." This story is funny. Two married buddies are out drinking one night when one turns to the other and says, "You know, I don't know what else to do. Whenever I go home after we've been out drinking, I turn the headlights off before I get to the driveway. I shut off the engine and coast into the garage. I take my shoes off before I go into the house. I sneak up the stairs. I get undressed in the bathroom. I ease into bed and my wife still wakes up and yells at me for staying out so late." His buddy looks at him and says, "Well, you're obviously taking the wrong approach." I screech into the driveway, slam the door, storm up the steps, throw my shoes into the closet, jump into bed, rub my hands on my wife's ass, and say, "Let's do it." And she's always sound asleep. This is a story about a man whose wife has warned him, "If you come home drunk one more time, I'm leaving." But as fate would have it, he goes out, drinks too much, and ends up with his shirt covered in vomit. Panicking, he tells his friend about his wife's ultimatum. His friend, ever so clever, advises, "Just go home and tell her someone else threw up on you." Oh, and put a 20. Say it's from the guy for your dry cleaning bill. Feeling a bit relieved, the man does exactly that. When he gets home, his wife, predictably furious at first, softens when he tells her the fabricated story. He proudly presents the $20 note as proof of his innocence. But then she notices another $20 bill and questions him. Without missing a beat, he replies, "Ah, that? That's from the guy who felt so bad he also offered to pay for the new underwear I'll need after what he did in my pants." An elephant and an ant were best friends and decided to play hide and seek. The elephant told the ant to hide first. The ant quickly hid behind a bush, and the elephant found her almost immediately. Now it was the elephant's turn to hide. The ant counted to 10 and began looking. Despite searching high and low, she couldn't find the elephant anywhere. Finally, she decided to look up, and there he was, trying to hide behind a street lamp. The ant laughed. "How did you think you could hide there?" The elephant replied, "I thought I'd blend in. I saw you hide behind a bush."